In this video we are going to look at partial fractions, but before we look at partial fractions I want us to have a review of what leads to partial fractions. Now you can remember that in basic algebra you must have come across some questions where it says that we have to write this as a single fraction. The idea was to make the same denominator. Now what we have here is that this side we have x minus 1 and then the other fraction we have x plus 3. The denominators are not the same, therefore we have to make the same denominator, and then after that we can add the numerator separately, and then from there we can now move on to partial fractions. But let's see how this works. Let's quickly remind ourselves. Now here you multiply top and bottom by this denominator here, which is x minus 1. Same also here, x minus 1. While this side you multiply top and bottom by this denominator here, and you're going to have x plus 3. Also the same here, x plus 3. Now when you do that, the numerators, you expand this, the brackets. Now we're going to have x times 3, we're going to have 3x, and then plus 3 times 3 is 9 over x minus 1, x plus 3. While this side, expanding that, you are going to get 2x minus 2 over x minus 1, x plus 3. You can see that the denominator that we have here is the same as the denominator that we have here. Now since the denominators are the same, we only need to have this same denominator. We just write it once, and then we only add the numerator. 3x plus 2x, we get 5x. Positive 9 minus 2, we get positive 7. Now this is the answer. We now have written that as a single fraction. Now when we talk of partial fractions, it means we want to move from here to come where we started. It's actually reverse. We're now going reverse. That now brings us to partial fractions. Now let's take this and then we write the partial fractions to get these two values here. Now how it works, we write 5x plus 7 over x minus 1 and then x plus 3. Now how partial fraction works, you can be given a fraction like this. Now what you do, since you have the denominator with two brackets, separate the two brackets. Now what you do with the first bracket, you write a over the first bracket, which is x minus 1, plus b over the second bracket, which is x plus 3. That is the first step of doing partial fractions. Now to move further, once you have written that, the second step is to multiply throughout by this denominator here, meaning this side we should multiply by x minus 1 and x plus 3. This side we multiply by x minus 1 and x plus 3. This side also x minus 1 and x plus 3. We are multiplying by this denominator throughout. Now what you can see here is that this This side will cancel with this denominator. And we have x minus 1. We have x minus 1. That will also cancel with that. And here, this x plus 3 will cancel with that. Then what we are going to be left with this side is only 5x plus 7 equal to, here we are going to have a, and the only bracket that is left is x plus 3 plus b. This side we only have x minus 1. Now from here, there are two ways on how to get the values of a. Now I should remind you that the reason why we are carrying out partial fractions is to get the values of a and b. Now looking at what we have here, a is over x minus 1, meaning our a should be the number above x minus 1, which is 3, while b is over x plus 3. Therefore, our b value should be the number which is above x plus 3, which is 2. Now, I'll use both methods. Let me mark this equation by a star because we'll come to that equation later. Now, the first method, let me call it method 1. What we do with this method, we rewrite this 5x plus 7 equal to, we expand these brackets here. A times x we get ax, a times positive 3 we get positive 3a, plus here we get b x, and then b times negative 1 we get minus b. Now from here, what we now have to do is that we now have to focus on the terms that have x. We have 5x there, we have ax here, and then we have bx. The other terms, let's leave them for now. Then what we should do now, we write 5x equal to 8x plus bx. But remembering that what we want to solve is for a and b, it means we can now leave out x. Then we are going to have 5 equal to a plus b. The x's, they are now left out. After that, let this be equation number 1. Now after that, we can now go back to that equation, and we now take the rest of the terms that do not have x. Then we are going to have 7, and then equal 3a minus b. Then this can be our equation number 2. Now what you can see here is that we now have systems of equations. In other words, you can call these simultaneous equations. Now how do we solve this type of equations? The aim is we should get rid of one variable so that we can have one variable, and then we solve for that variable. We can basically see that these two equations, we need to add them. 5 plus 7, we should get 12 equal to a plus 3a, we should get 4a, while positive b plus minus b, these two, they will cancel. Then since we only have one variable, which is a. We can now divide both sides by 4, so that this 4 and that 4 can cancel, and then our a is equal to 12 divided by 4. We should get 3. We are done with a. Now let's move on to finding the variable b. What we now do, we can either take equation 1 or equation 2, and then we substitute in the place of a 3. Let's take equation 1. We have 5 equals to a plus b. In the place of a, we know a is equal to 3. We now bring 3 in. Then we're going to have 5 equal to, instead of writing a, we now write 3, and then plus b. Then we collect items. We're going to have 5 minus 3. This 3 comes this side to become negative, and then equal to b. Then 5 minus 3 is equal to 2. Therefore, our b value is now 2. Now, like I said, you can see that the number that we have on top of x minus 1, this number here, x minus 1, the number on top should be 3. That means our a should be 3, and looking at what we have here, our a is indeed 3. While the other fraction, the number on top, or rather the numerator of x plus 3 is 2, meaning our b should be equal to 2, and indeed our b here is equal to 2. That is the first way of doing it. Now the other way, from this equation here, I'm going to rewrite that equation. 5x plus 7 equals to ax plus b, and then plus b. This is supposed to be 3, not b. 3, x plus 3, and then plus b, and then x minus 1. Let me call this one method 2. Now this method, you take what is inside the bracket here. We have x plus 3. You equate it to 0, and then you solve for x. It means our x is equal to negative 3. You also do the same here. You take that inside the bracket. We have x minus 1. You equate it to 0, then you solve for x. Then our x is equal to positive 1. Here we just move the 3 to the other side to become negative. The same here, the negative 1, you move it to the other side to become positive 1. Now once you have done that, then what you do, let's start with x equal to negative 3. It means in the place of x, we should put in negative 3. Then we are going to have 5. In the place of x, we put in negative 3. And then plus 7 equal to a. In the place of x, we put in negative 3. And then plus 3. And then plus b. In the place of x, we put in negative 3 minus 1. Then here we are going to have negative 15 plus 7 equal to this. Negative 3 plus 3 will give us this part here. Everything will give us 0. Therefore, we don't need to write it. Then we come to b. This part here will give us negative 4. Therefore, negative 4 times b, we get negative 4b. While here, negative 15 plus 7, we should get negative 8 equals to negative 4b. Since we want to find the value of b, we divide both sides by negative 4. Therefore, our b is equal to, this negative and negative, they cancel, 8 over 4 is indeed 2. Now that we have that, we can also now use x equals to 1. We have the first solution here. Let's use the other value of x. We are still going to work with that equation. We have 5. In the place of x, we now put in positive 1 plus 7 equal to a. In the place of x, we put in positive 1. 1 plus 3 plus b. In the place of x, we put in positive 1. 1 minus 1. Now what we can see here is that 1 minus 1 is 0, meaning this thing that we have here will give us 0, while what we have here will give us 4. Then what we can now do, 5 times 1 is 5, plus 7, we should get 12. 4 times a, we get 4a. The other side, you don't need to write the 0. Then to get our a, we divide both sides by 4. So that this 4 and that 4 can cancel, and then we have a equal to 12 divided by 4 is equal to 3. It means our a is equal to 3 and our b is equal to 2. Now looking at the solutions, you will see that indeed this is the same as that, and the a is the same as what we have there. That is basically how you solve partial fractions. In short, partial fractions is the opposite of writing two fractions as a single fraction. That is basically how it works. And if you are new to this channel, please do subscribe for more videos. Any questions, please comment and I'll respond accordingly.